Welkom terug, dames en heren. Voilà, we hebben weer klank. Fijn dat u bij ons bent hier in Muntpunt. En dit is alweer de vierde gast die ik hier aan de tand mag voelen vanmiddag over wat er volgens hem zo straf is, zo goed, dat het in deze sonde mede-ruimte ingecatapulteerd mag worden. Welcome, Marek, Sindelka. I hope I pronounce your name right.
Yeah, perfect.
I will do my best. You come from Prague, you've written novels, poetry and a graphic novel, short stories even.
Right. Yeah.
You work in different forms, that's the least we can say.
Yeah. I always try to not force my texts, so I always try to let them breathe and let them grow on their own somehow. I love the idea of literature as a life form almost, which goes on its own somehow. You just invest some amount of energy in the beginning and then just observe how it develops itself, and that's I love that about literature. It's like working with bacteria or microbes or something like that, and you always have to. In the beginning, you always have to start with something, with an atmosphere, with a character, for example, or with just a gesture of something, and then let it grow.
So you keep a lot of freedom in the process.
Exactly, yeah. But in the beginning, in the end, it's always about very deep cuts in the text and about some composition shifts and working on structure and things like that. But in the beginning, I'm trying to develop a sort of something vivid.
An organic process?
An organic, almost, exactly.
Okay. You're a great talent, I can say that, considered as one of the most important authors of your generation. And you chose 3 items that should be known in the farthest reaches of the cosmos. First of all, a book, The Atlas of the Human Body. Can we see, over there we can see what that can look like. Why do you choose this, Marek?
Well, because I think it's a great work of mankind, and I tried to take it seriously, your task. So I was trying to figure out what would be interested enough for aliens, for example, and I think
that is the anatomy of the human body.
Well, exactly. Why send them Mona Lisa, for example, or I don't know what? Because that's a piece of art, and you can see everything very very clearly here in Anatomic Atlas, Atlas of Anatomy, and it's the message itself.
It's a book that helps understand how the human body works, actually.
Yeah, and maybe destroy the mankind if you want to be very, precise in that. And also my books are focused on problems with body. So maybe that is somehow interconnected with my work because all of my books are somehow focused on the body as a burden, as something which is desperately out of date in this society because it's old, it's ancient, it was developed during evolution hundreds of thousands years ago and or millions years ago, and now we have to face things, or it has to face things like Facebook or other social media. So,
my next question was, what intrigues you the most about the human body? It's outdated, actually.
Outdated. Well, I'm interested how, for example, things like aggressivity is still deep lodged in our body, like ourselves, and it's somehow very difficult to deal with these old prehistorical emotions and forces which are very strong and still
struggle for life.
Yeah, something like that, and you have to somehow shape it in very different forms, in sport, in politics, in art, for example, in many kinds of competitive like disciplines, and that was fascinating me. Yeah, fascinates me.
So it's not the best we have to offer the human body.
Well, but it's of course it's something amazing, something wonderful. So I think it's a masterpiece in a way. So why don't send a map of it into outer space?
Okay, let's go to your second item. That's a painting, a Malevich Black Square, an iconic painting. You can see it over there. It is a black square. The first version was done in 1950. There are several versions of the work.
Right. Yeah. And
He made 4 variants, I think.
well, I love the painting because it's a manifesto also of I think it's the best piece of art ever made, and after this the art development only go lower and lower, it decays, and I believe in outer space it could work as just a message that we developed something perfect, something geometrical, not overloaded with meanings, just something meditative, almost like a mantra or a meditation or something like that. So I love this piece very much, and
It's considered as a 0 point of painting.
exactly, yeah, and I think the 0 is the best export article which we can send into universe. Why we don't know what is out there, so I think Malevich's painting could be it's also a message. I think the spacecraft itself is a message in the first place, because the medium is the message, as Marshall McLuhan said. When we set a spacecraft, you don't have to fill it with anything. It's itself. It's a message. There is something out there in a different planet. So it's absolutely. It's not important what you put inside.
It's not only a black square. 2 cubist images were discovered underneath the top coat of black paint afterwards.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of.
Yeah. Art experts in Russia discovered a few years ago 2 earlier cubist paintings hidden under the monochrome
Really?
masterpiece by
Yeah.
Kazimir Malevich, using X-rays. They found out.
Well, I like this story, but it's when you can see it's also there's sort of pulsation in the image, because it's not absolutely regular.
The
square.
craquelé effect.
Yeah, it's there is some small like flaws in it, and it is thrilling for me. For example, when I saw it in real life, I was almost overwhelmed by its power and
What can we learn about ourselves while seeing this painting?
I don't know. Maybe something about some inner peace, about silence, about monotony, which I think we desperately lacks, or the civilization lacks these things. You know, it's full of action, full of stories, full of self-promotions, and I don't know what CVs, and I'm a little bit fed up with these things, and so I love this minimalistic approach. So that's it.
It's like a pause in the hectic life.
Exactly.
Today. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think this work has a lot in common with the next item you chose, and that's a piece by John Cage called 4 minutes 33 seconds.
Yeah, right. And exactly that was the first thing which came across my mind when I read the email people from the festival sent me, and that's something very special, because that's 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence, and it was very similar manifesto as Malevich's painting, but it's not silence completely. It's always about about sounds of environment, about sounds of which audience produces during.
Yeah, the musicians don't play. Maybe we can watch an excerpt of the piece. The musicians don't play. It's a piece in 3 movements, but actually it's about the sounds of the environment that the listeners hear while it is performed. It was composed in 1952, but it still works today, Marek?
Yeah,
It's like
I think it will be a big hit in outer space because it's it's something very very similar, just silence and just yeah. What I think that's to export silence into outer space. It could work. And the important thing is that that Cage, I had also a different idea of a music which could be sent into outer space, also by John Cage, and it was a composition called Organ Squared, like squared, and or as slow as possible, and it wasn't mentioned by Cage how slow actually. So and it's a very small piece of music, like 2 or 3 pages, and it had been sometimes performed for 70 minutes or so. But in Germany there is a cathedral somewhere, I don't know the name, where they had been performing the piece since 2001, and it's going to be playing for next 620 years or so, and so now they're in the like 2nd or 3rd tone of the composition. And
so it's a long drone or something.
And also there was a 2 years pause, so it's very interesting, and that's what.
Is it the concept behind those pieces that intrigue you the most?
Yeah, of course, it's something which
it
forces
challenges
you to feel the music or art in a very different way.
and it challenges
Yes.
the definition of music, actually.
Exactly. Same thing. Did Bellatar in his movie Satanic Tango was the title, which lasts 7 hours. It's a movie, and you during when you are watching the movie, you have to completely change your approach, what you expect from movies, or your expectations, and your way how to consume images. And
something that takes you completely out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. But it's a wonderful experience for a few hours.
Yeah.
To because these structures are unified and replicate they replicate themselves on, and I don't know, I'm fed up with Hollywood. I prefer Bellatar's films to all of these bloody blockbusters.
Yes. Okay. And this piece is also, it's important who is the performer. Eh? This piece can be performed by one musician or by a whole orchestra. That's why we chose this movie.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's not prescribed how many musicians should perform the piece, or how.
Have you ever seen a score?
No.
We
But
have
I think
it here,
it's
I think.
black. Really?
Jürgen, do we have the score here?
Yeah.
You want to take a look?
Okay, thank you. Wow.
Maybe you can show it to the audience
Yeah,
as well.
I will. Yeah, so that's it. And
The three movements.
three
I mentioned.
movements. That means I think silence, silence, silence. And it was performed by a musician who decided. I completely forgotten his name.
David Tudor.
Yeah,
Pianist?
that's possible. And he, in the beginning of every act, he slammed the piano.
He closed the lid.
Yeah, and then opened it again. So
To make sure when the next
exactly,
movement was starting.
Yeah. And that was all. And John Cage also, I think, held a lecture on future of music, and he also just opened the book or a folder, and he was silent for about, I don't know, for 10 minutes or so. Then he closed it and walked away. So he's he's a very inspirative person, I think, for nowadays.
Everything we do is music, is a quote of his.
Yeah, right. And when you imagine, I was always a little bit melancholy about, or I feel melancholy about the idea of outer space and some civilizations out there and things like that. I think we are somehow desperately alone, so we put a dog inside a space shuttle and launch it and let it go out and let the dog die, and then monkey, and then human being, and then Mona Lisa or what, or our best music pieces, and that's I always feel sad about it a little bit. What are we waiting for, or don't we have enough? Don't we have enough relationships here? Do we need these things? And
we always want to reach further.
Yeah, and that's the truth of our civilization. I think we always need to somehow grow up and develop ourselves, develop our civilization, our science, ourselves, and I feel it as a pressure on a single life of a single person. For example, you have to always your life is under big pressure of that development, and it's under stress of some, I don't know, career things and what.
So maybe we could skip to another strategy and keep this probe here on Earth and share it with the people around us.
Yeah, I think that maybe would work better. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for this conversation, Marek Sindelka.
Thank you.
And at 6:30, om 6:30, dames en heren, there is a debate at Café Ritz, and there's a book that's translated in Dutch by Marek Sindelka. That's called Anna in kaart gebracht. U kan dus naar een debat en een gesprek daarover, a conversation about Anna in kaart gebracht and about migration. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you for coming.